one more. Our guest this week is a former #1 overall pick back in 1995, a defenseman who won the Calder Trophy as Rookie of the Year in 1997. He also represented Team USA in the 1998 Winter Olympics. We're happy to welcome in Bryan Berard to the show. Bryan, thanks for spending time with us. Let's get it started this way. I know you have a new book out called Relentless. If I, on my way home from the show, stop and pick that book up, what do you think I would find the most revealing part of your book?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I know these two guys pretty well, so I appreciate you guys spending some time with me. Honestly, it's not just a hockey book. Obviously, I've been through a lot on and off the ice. So really, it's just about me kind of pushing through what I've gone through with an eye injury, dealing with some insurance fraud, financial fraud, and really just keep getting back up and kind of living the dream, really.
BB, this is JR. I don't think any of us that know you are surprised at the title of your book, of how you're able to come back and continue to fight and be that guy that's going to be on top at the end. Coming from Rhode Island, you grew up, blue collar. You grew up playing blue collar. You had that eye injury, unfortunate eye injury from Marian Hossa. Yet you were able to come back and play against all the odds. Tell us how tough a part of your life and your career was it having that eye injury and coming back from that and being able to play with such reduced eyesight?
I mean, that night in Ottawa, obviously I was drafted first overall with Ottawa, and then it happened there was kind of a little odd. But I was in Toronto. I was 23 years old. And all of a sudden, honestly, I thought my career was done. I mean, I took that high stick, and people have seen the video. My feet are kind of wailing a little bit. And it wasn't a lot of pain. I just kind of was yelling back to Curtis Joseph, who was my goaltender at the time, that I knew I was in trouble right away. I knew that my eyesight, my right eye went completely black. And I thought I lost my eye. I think that was the first thing I thought of. The second thing was my NHL career is over just at 23. It was just getting started. So it definitely was a tough thing. It was a long road back. I mean, it was only really a year. I went through about 6 or 7 eye surgeries to basically try to get me as much sight possible back in that right eye. I never did gain any vision back there, so I actually did come back and play 6 or 7 years with one eye. It was a difficult road back, but lucky enough, I was able to come back, play 6 or 7 years. But I had to change. I mean, when I came into the league, I played the right side as a left defenseman. I had to switch over to the left side. And obviously it was frustrating because I wasn't the player I once was. And I think that was the biggest thing to when I look back, was it a smart financial decision? No, but at 23 years old, I would go back and do it again. I just loved hockey and I loved being around the rink.
Hey, B, quick question. I mean, I know that you're not writing a book by yourself. How much help did you get? And is this book a PG book or is it R-rated? Because I know there's a lot of skeletons out there that we can't share if it's R-rated.
Well, if it was R-rated, AC, you'd be in it. So maybe JR too. But no, we wanted to do something. I kind of fought with him a little bit. Ty Domi, a good friend of mine, released his book about a couple years ago with Jim Lang. Jim Lang was awesome to work with him. We met with Simon Schuster out of Canada, Toronto, Kevin Hansen. I met with him probably 3 years ago in New York, kind of sat down for a little bit. And the timing wasn't right yet. And then we sat down probably about 8 months ago, probably about 10 months ago now, to be honest. And we pushed this book through. A lot of conversations, a lot of stories. I talked to Jim. We met with him in Toronto. Obviously, he did Proberts. He did Domies, Wendell Clarks. He just did Max Domies as well. Great guy to work with. It was a lot of fun. This project, I mean, to go back, everyone says, was it tough to talk about your eye injury and the fraud and things like that? And the reason why I wanted to get this book out, and again, it's just not a hockey book, but I really wanted to I was embarrassed at first, a lot of stuff with the fraud, but I wanted to get my story out and kind of educate young players, or really anybody. It doesn't have to be in the sports world or the hockey world, but the mistakes I made, trusting somebody that I shouldn't have. And I really just wanted to get my story out. So again, AC, it is rated G. That's why I do Chicklets and some other podcasts where I get some funny stories out there that have been. I'm 42. I'm still pretty much single, so I have a lot of fun. Out there. So but it's a good book. It's a good read. And again, it's just not a hockey book. It was a fun project.
Yeah, Bryan, I think it's really important. You mentioned some of the financial aspects of your life and in this book, and I think it's really important. And I'm so happy that you're going out and making sure that everybody, especially especially young kids, are aware of what can happen out there. Can you give us just a little synopsis of what happened to you, and so other guys can have something that they can look at and to follow and make sure that that doesn't happen to them? Also, I know it was a tough thing that you've had to go through, but you have just battled your ass off and trying to get this out of your way, out of your path.
Correct, and you brought it up earlier, JR. You know, we're from a blue-collar family here. I grew up in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. You know, my dad maybe made $50,000 a year, raised 6 kids. You know, all of us played sports, so we didn't know about. My dad didn't know about investing. My mom didn't know about investing. So I did trust somebody. You know, I met Phil Kenner, and he's in jail now for about, I think it's been almost 6 years now, or a little over 6 years. Still hasn't been sentenced, so it's been a long process with the federal government. But, you know, I did trust him. He spent maybe 2 nights, you know, at my house at Christmas, you know, 2 Christmases at my house. And it just all of a sudden, it seemed that he just kind of went off, I guess, off the reservation a little bit. And we started investing a lot in some real estate deals that I probably shouldn't have been a part of. Unfortunately, 2008, 2009 happened with the Lehman Brothers. So it was kind of a perfect storm as well. But, you know, I just trusted him too much. I didn't educate myself. I was playing hockey. I wasn't paying attention. And really he just kind of, and it happened to a lot of players. And a lot of guys are still embarrassed about it. So it's, you know, stuff that I didn't mention any names or anything like that, but it's, you know, he stole probably over $50+ million from a lot of players and ruined their families. And you know, I thought I built this nest egg. And when I retired at only 32, unfortunately, because of injuries and stuff, I thought I was going to at least have a little bit of time. So it was definitely an eye-opener. And again, that's what I'm doing now. I started working in the financial business. I work for Whale Rock Point Partners, a family office and investment firm out of Providence, Rhode Island. Just business development, so I don't really give any financial advice. But these guys have been around for a long time with wealthy families. And those are the questions that young players and really anybody need to ask of who their clients. Can they talk to them to, you know, to kind of feel them out, to feel who you're, I guess, the firms that you're looking into, especially young athletes. And that's what kind of opened my eyes. And I really wanted people to kind of learn my mistakes and educate them so it doesn't happen to them as well.
Good for you, man.
Hey, Brian, one of those mistakes you mentioned a little bit ago, you said that it was not a good idea financially for you to come back and play again in your early to mid-20s. I'd like to hear a little more detail on that and the situation you were facing then with that decision to come back.
It was tough because I took out a disability policy on myself for $6 million. I was 23 years old. I already made a little bit of money, and I'm pretty wide open about it. You know, I started in the NHL at 19 years old. So, you know, I had probably close to $10 million in the bank, and I could have retired, you know, at 23. But for me, it wasn't about the money or about that. But we worked out a deal with the insurance company that, you know, I would pay back the amount of money over a few years, and then I had to basically cut a check back for the whole $6.3 million. At that time, we thought that was, well, I thought that was the right thing to do. And obviously, with one eye, I wasn't the player I once was. But then we kind of learned when I retired. Obviously, I made you know, not to complain, but I made a little bit of money back. But obviously, when I came back playing, I was basically playing for free because I was paying the money back. If you're earning $2 million, obviously after tax, you get about 1.2. But I was cutting a check to the insurance company for $2 million my first year. So I was basically playing for free, and a lot of people really didn't understand that. But then we learned later on that my disability policy, and I'm disabled today. I don't have any vision out of my right eye, so I'm pretty much legally blind in that eye. That the insurance company kind of had basically committed fraud on me, and this is the insurance fraud. It explains in the book that I should have been able to keep that $6 million. It was a disability policy. I'm permanently disabled, so I should have been able to come back, keep the $6 million, and also be able to come back and play. And not pay that back. I would have had to pay the $300,000 back through the NHLPA and the NHL because that's a career-ending policy. So I basically, and again, it's my fault. I didn't have coming from a blue-collar town in Woonsocket, I guess I didn't have the right, you know, lawyers and things to go back and look at that. And an insurance agent as well should have knew it was a disability policy. That's where, so I kind of got screwed there a little bit. And again, it goes back on mine, but you live and learn like I do with my financial things. But again, it's just a little bit of bad luck. But again, you know, I retired and then I thought I had a little bit of money saved up, obviously with Phil Kenner, and that was all gone too. So it seemed that you know, everything kind of that could have happened did happen, and unfortunately, you know, I had to go back to work. But again, I was lucky enough to play in the NHL, and I'm not complaining about it. I would go back and do it again.
B, I remember jumping on a private plane, heading down to Mexico with you and Phil to check out that land, beachfront there in Mexico. and then flying back to LA, and I remember like blown away, but I was like, not really sure. My business manager shut the idea down. But what was it when it comes to Phil Kenner that tipped you off that said something's wrong? Something's not right here. Something smells fishy.
You know what? He was a friend. So at first I got a call from the feds. It was right when I was close to retiring too. So that was kind of tough. I was in camp with Philly, and that didn't work out. And I got a call from the feds. I had to meet with them, and I'm kind of like, this doesn't make sense. I went over to Russia, and I mentioned it to Chris Simon. I went over to Russia and played with Chris Simon, who was a Kenner client as well. And really, I just started reaching out to some of his clients and kind of talking to them, and the stories just weren't adding up. So I reached out to a police officer at the time. He retired. He did some construction work and stuff. His name was John Kaiser, and his family was screwed over by Kenner as well. So we just started matching up some paperwork and stuff, some things, and really kind of going over a lot of stuff, and nothing seemed like he had a different story for everybody. And then I kind of remember some of the stuff when I was at Phil Kenner's house. Some of the athletes or some hockey guys would call him, and it seemed that he'd always have, a different story for guys. And I'm like, it's definitely. So when I got back from Russia that year, I reached out, and I did a lot of work with, just kind of talking to the agents at that time, and realized that he was a thief. He wasn't who he was. He was a crook. I reached out to him, had tried to meet him in New York City. Obviously, he was a no-show. And then I knew I was pretty much in trouble. So, light bulb went off, and then the whole government, obviously is already involved, and it was definitely tough. It was a dark time. It was definitely a tough time for me to realize all this stuff, especially come back from the eye injury and earning the money back that, I thought I could be able to at least have a little bit of a nest egg. And I realized it was pretty much all gone.
Yeah, Brian, let's get to the real important things outside of financial aspects of your life, and let's get to how great you were on the ice. I played against you many, many times. I'm very fortunate to call you a friend, but you were a pain in the ass to play against. You were one of those guys that would stick up for the teammate, that would make games hard for you. I remember the time in Philly when I'm trying to beat the shit out of Radek Dvorak, and somebody came to Dvorak's defense, whether, unbeknownst to me, but we're seeing it on screen right now, and I just punched Dvorak in the face, and here you come to the defense of your own teammate and absolutely smoke me. You remember that situation?
I do. And the best part, we were friends before. I was lucky enough at a young age to play in the Olympics.
I thought we were friends because after you tackled me, you called me a piece of shit. And I'm like, gosh, Brian, I'm a little disappointed right now. I love you. And here you called me a piece of shit. Yeah, but that's when I knew what kind of teammate that you are, that you will do whatever it takes, no matter who it is, to defend your teammates and do whatever it takes to win. So you go back to that again. What was going through your mind?
It's just, again, it's hockey, right? It's your teammates, the guys you love, and obviously, we had a friendship, and again, it goes back to just seeing guys play like Chelios. He was on Chicklets the other day, talked about the Keenan story. I love the old school part of hockey. That's kind of why I went to Major Junior. I like the roughness, that physical part of the game. I like to throw them every once in a while. Not that I was tough, but I would always try to fight somebody tougher than me. So at least when I got beat up, my first NHL fight was Ken Danico. I was like, what the hell am I doing fighting Ken Danico? And then, it hit me a couple of times. I'm like, oh my God, thank God that didn't hit me direct. I would be in trouble. Sorry, Mr. Danico. Pretty much. But that's part of the game I liked. And then, I saw you kind of roughing up Devo, who I like Devo too. So I play with him, and, so I was like, I just got to get in there a little bit. But
that's great.
I think that's old school hockey, and I love that about the game. I love the teammates and the friendships that you guys all know that we've made playing this game is you never can forget.
One of your teammates in high school, Brian Boucher, one of our friends and colleagues right here, and ever since I've known Boucher the last 3 years, he's got a great sense of humor. He and I like to partake in the insulting, kind of funny PG-13 or rated R insults back and forth sometimes. So I need some new material. You were high school buddies with him and teammates. What do you have for me? How can you help?
That's a tough one. It's crazy that me and him, literally from first grade on, have been pretty much best friends, and have grown up in a small town with soccer. Both get drafted in the first round. But nobody understands how funny Brian is, and when he got that job with NBC,
we have a good idea how funny he is.
He's just great. His personality's dry, everything about him. But and his parents, and I do a dedication in the book to him. His parents We're from Quebec, came down here. His father had a pretty successful construction business. And to be honest, without him and his parents, I don't think I would have been able to make the NHL. Because again, my parents were blue collar, and I went on a lot of trips, so I know I got a lot of dirt on Boucher. And not that I ever beat him up, but I used to harass him pretty much in elementary school a lot. I used to pants him in front of girls when he wear sweatpants.
There we go. There it is.
A lot of certain things. Yeah, there you go. A lot of certain things in the Boucher that. But he's, I love him, and I love his parents. Both have passed now, but they're just great people. And without Norman Lees Boucher, I probably would have never been able to make the NHL.
Well, another one of our colleagues here at NBC and someone that you've had a pass with and played for is Mike Milbury. So give us your opinion of Mike Milbury as an analyst and as a GM, coach, everything. Give us the best Mike Milbury story you got for us.
I got good one quick. But me and Mike have a love-hate relationship. I said he treated me kind of.
So you're like everybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I like it with an analyst, but the best story of late I could tell is that when Kevin Connolly, who's a good buddy of mine as well, did that 30 for 30 on Spano about the whole Islanders thing. And we were all showing. I was in 30 for 30 with Milbury and stuff. We did some interviews. Kevin Cons did with us, and we're going to the premieres in the Tribeca Film Festival. And Cons calls me. He's like, "Listen, I might need a favor tonight. Who you bring in, whatever." And I said, "He's like, Spano's going to Milbury. They don't like each other at all. So I might have some issues. Spano's got some buddies with him, but I might need you to break up a fight if anything kind of goes. But I really need you to do me a favor. You got to let it go for like 3 to 5 minutes because I want the publicity if these guys actually start beating each other up." like that's a great idea. But that's what Milbury. To me, I mean, he just challenged guys, and that's what he did. I'm old school again, like I talked about. I always stood up for myself. That's why me and Milbury, I think that's why he liked me. That's why we had our battles. Unfortunately, it was a lot of young guys in that, a lot of young players on that early Islanders team.
What kind of coach was he, though? What kind of coach was he?
He was just, we got along, but we did fight. I mean, unfortunately, he benched me a few times, and I would do the same thing that Chelios would do. I'd turn around and tell him what I thought about him. I kind of, I guess a podcast I can say, but I tell him to kind of F off, and then he'd bench me even longer. But we had those battles, and but I respect. He was tough on me, and we kind of learned. He taught me some things as well. So it was good. It was definitely a great experience. And then I thanked them for trading me to Toronto because that was probably the best part of my NHL career. I mean, it was a short, obviously with the injury, but before that, playing on that team and with a lot of good guys. So, I thank them for trading me as well.
So we talked about the old school coaches and the mentality. What's your impression of the game now? How it's played, how it's coached, the way that the talent of these guys. Watching Pastrnak score right now 25 in 26 games. Ovechkin continues to put up 50. The talent in the game. Give us your synopsis of the game now and how much you like it.
Ovechkin blows me away. I can't believe he's still scoring from that same spot. It's just amazing. Goalies know what's coming. Defense know what's coming. He's still scoring. He's just amazing. I love watching players now. These young kids are so talented. Kane, he's been in the league forever, but guys that are skilled like that, I love watching. I wish I was born a little later and was playing in today's game. I think I probably would have fit right in. I still, the hitting and stuff and some of the head stuff, I understand with the concussions and stuff, but still some of these calls frustrate me a little bit when a guy ducks and the guy's head gets run into the boards. I think that's hockey and that's part of it. It's tough, but I do enjoy it a lot. I don't watch a lot of regular season, to be honest with you. I watch players, but once playoff hockey comes, I sit in front of the TV and I watch every single game. And the sport's still, to me, it's the best out there, especially playoff hockey. That's the part of the game that I miss. The body couldn't do it anymore, but I wish I was definitely playing today.
All right, Brian, this is a former #1 overall pick, played for over a decade in the NHL. His new book is Relentless. We appreciate you sharing some tales and spending time with us.
Can't wait to read this book. Can't wait to read this book, buddy. I'm telling you, from knowing you as a person and knowing what kind of competitor you are, there's no question that this book is going to be one of the best reads of all time. So you're the best, pal.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate having me on. Love you guys both. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Good to talk with you.